Hey, frogheads and fragrance lovers, welcome back. It's Benjamin here at the Centaur Fragrance Show, chatting about some more beautiful fragrances. How you doing today? How's the fragrance life? What you smelling like out there? Tell me down below. What's your scent of the day, and how are you doing? It's so good to see you. So let's talk about a beautiful fragrance, a high-end luxury fragrance. This is actually another fragrance. I'm going to be showcasing a couple of them that my dad actually bought, and he's been sampling these. We've been trying some high-end fragrances and wrapping our heads around them. And today it's Bortnikoff from Sir Winston. Now, this is a beautiful fragrance, guys. This is probably the strongest fragrance. I'm just going to say it right off the bat. I'm not even going to wait till the end to tell you. This is probably my favorite Bortnikoff that I've tried so far. Haven't tried all of them, but this one really stands out, and it's a great one. So first off, you got some green tea in the opening with the notes. Then you got some, if I remember right, some tuberose and some ambergris in the heart. And then you got some really interesting notes. You got like tobacco, some vanilla, and I think it's called a Buddha wood or something to that effect. Now, first off, the green tea with this fragrance. Let's look at that bottle. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, that's a home run presentation. I do get some green tea. It's a little bit more on the dry side, maybe the powdery aspect of green tea. It's soothing. It wraps the fragrance around with this comforting quality and this energetic vibe, almost like a caffeinated quality to the fragrance. But it doesn't smell exactly like really soothing, like Asian green watery tea or anything. No, that's what I was expecting. But this is a little bit different. It's almost acting to my nose, the green tea, almost like a fresh myrrh. It's very fascinating. In the heart of the fragrance, I find it also very interesting that not the tuberose, the tuberose is here and it's beautiful and a big personality. It almost acts more like a violet tuberose does, almost a mix between violet and jasmine. It has depth to it, but it wants to rise to the top of the fragrance. Adds its own unique classiness, but it's also called the punk or the rock floral note of the fragrance world because it has a bunch of personality and it has some rebelliousness about it, and it plays really well with these deeper, heavier notes, which are going to be in the base. What's confusing or perhaps really interesting is the ambergris mixed as a heart note. Usually you see ambergris as a base note because it as usually acts more like a musk in a fragrance, and that's what it mostly is, or mostly what it does. But to hear has a little bit more weight to it. I don't want to use the word jammy like a jammy rose. I'm not getting as much of the salt. There is a little bit of that in the background supporting the fragrance, but it's an ambergris that has a little bit more of a weight behind it, almost like a little bit more of almost like a powdery ambergris, but it's not a powdery fragrance. But there is a little bit more weight behind it. I'm not getting as much of the saltiness. Maybe this is a gray ambergris. Not exactly sure, but again, y'all probably already know if you're watching this review, if you're a niche fragrance or if you're deep into still learning about fragrances, that there's three different types of ambergris. There's the white, there's the gray, and then there's the black. And it really, the black is the least aged, the gray is somewhat aged, and the white is the most pure and the most aged, the most desirable, and the most expensive. So, anyways, here. It's a really beautiful fragrance. What the biggest notes in this fragrance and what's mostly about to me is the tobacco and the vanilla. Those are the two biggest notes in the fragrance, and that's kind of what you want. This is what this fragrance is about. Here, the tobacco. Beautiful, rich pipe tobacco, exactly what you want. Smells gentlemanly, smells refined, smells like a really, really high quality cigar. It's called Sir Winston for a reason. It smells like a gentleman who knows his way around some cigars. So really great tobacco note. I love tobacco, one of my favorite notes of all time. It has a lot of personality here. The vanilla here, it's not exactly dark, but it is woody. It's more of like not a black vanilla bean, but like a semi-aged. So not exactly a fresh picked vanilla bean, but a little bit aged, and it has a distinct woodiness to it. It does add some sweetness here. It's not terribly sweet, the vanilla here is adding somewhat of almost like a muskiness and a little bit more of a well-rounded nature. But to me, the tobacco probably is the biggest player to this fragrance. Really, really nice fragrance. Really, really well done. The Buddha wood is really fascinating. It's a very calming, soothing type of note. It's very relaxing and meditative, and I think that's a great addition and a blend with the green tea off the top of the fragrance. So this is a very calming, meditative fragrance, kind of like that refined gentleman in a beautiful library with some leather books, that kind of vibe going on. Maybe smoking a really beautiful, cigar. That's the kind of imagery that comes with this fragrance, and it captured that emotion very, very well. It's a fragrance that I think a lot of gentlemen can get behind. Honestly, this is probably the most wearable fragrance from Bortnikoff. Again, Bortnikoff is very well known for putting out very almost niche, some people would say, or very creative fragrances, and aren't for everybody. Some of them are a little bit hard to wear. I'll be reviewing another one of them here soon for you guys, and that one is very difficult to wear. This one is probably the easiest to wear and probably the most likable, but it still has a big personality. Big personality fragrance here. Beautiful though, beautiful fragrance. If you're a tobacco lover, I most certainly recommend you get a sample and try this fragrance if you haven't any access to a boutique or anywhere where you could possibly smell this fragrance. It's worth trying out, especially if you love tobacco. It's one of the best tobaccos I've ever smelled in my whole entire life. So fantastic fragrance. Performance. What kind of performance are we getting? Bortnikoff does not disappoint with the performance. You're going to get 9+ hours out of this fragrance, probably 10+ hours. This is a fragrance to me because it's such high concentration and such a big personality. I probably wouldn't put more sprays on than 2 or 3. Honestly, 2 sprays is probably more than enough, and it's a very high concentration. This is an extrait to parfum, and it'll get you through a whole day. 2 sprays, and people will notice you, and people will be able to pick up on this fragrance. Put on more than 3 sprays, and especially if you're wanting to be appropriate and a classy kind of guy, I think it's going to be a little bit too much if you put on more than 3 sprays. But that's just my opinion. Of course, wear fragrances however the way you want. Fantastic fragrance, though. Very well composed. Projection-wise, is a really nice presence. I would say slightly above average projection, but it's not trying to be a in-your-face beast mode fragrance. This is a refined fragrance. It's very well composed. It's called Sir Winston. It's supposed to have some gentlemanly qualities to it. It's supposed to be a classy fragrance, so it's not really trying to be in people's faces and overtly bold and fill up a room and and force people's attention onto them. But this fragrance will get you noticed. Has beautiful sillage, very good sillage, and just is a remarkable creation. Compliment factor wise, this fragrance did not get me crazy compliments, but when I went out, it got me a whole lot of respect. I think that I always say this with fragrances, that you need to dress the part, you need to look the part, you need to be acting the part, and of course you got to be clean, you got to take care of yourself. And this is a fragrance that really does well, would work really great with a gentleman who's dressed up in a suit or maybe a really refined outfit. Maybe he's well traveled, maybe he has some really expensive clothes from a foreign land. This fragrance really, speaks to a well-cultured, well-traveled gentleman, and I think that this fragrance is going to work and really match that kind of guy. Just going out in a t-shirt smelling like this fragrance, you're going to smell great, but will you look the part? Will you match the fragrance? I think that's an important part with this fragrance. I think that definitely needs to be taken into consideration. So, anyways, really nice fragrance. Didn't get me tons of compliments, but did people dislike it? No. Actually, people are kind of impressed with it, especially the gentleman with the tobacco. They were impressed with this fragrance, and they're probably a little bit jealous. So it's a great fragrance, very well done, and it will give you a very stately, boss kind of aura around you, and make you smell like the man. So great fragrance. Final thoughts with this fragrance, with the cost. Y'all know that Bortnikoffs are not cheap. I'll link below where you can look into these fragrances. These aren't cheap fragrances. They're not trying to be. That these fragrances are luxury for a reason. And if I remember right, these are like 30 mils, and they're upwards of $300 or more for most of them. You might be able to find them a little bit on sale, but Bortnikoff is not trying to push out their fragrance and hit discounter racks. That's not what Bortnikoff is about. They're trying to preserve and have a luxury quality brand and an image, and I respect that. So you're not going to be able to get these fragrances probably for cheap unless you buy it, a used bottle, or somebody, maybe somehow you get really lucky. So wonderful fragrance. I think it's worth the money. If you have the money, if you are this refined gentleman, this is probably the first one that I would, again, start with from the house. This is the first one I would try, and this would be the one I probably would recommend the most from Bortnikoff. Yes, Bortnikoff has some more interesting, extreme, creative fragrances out there, but this is the one that's probably going to be the most wearable, and I think guys or gentlemen out there probably would wear the most and probably get the most enjoyment out of it. But don't try out all the Bortnikoff. See which one works out for you. A fascinating, well done brand. They get some love and they get some talk for a reason. They're very well crafted. Anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed my review today. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, and tell a friend. I really do appreciate you. I'll see you next time on the next video. So peace out, everybody. Wear what you love, rock what you got, and bye.